We think that's really quite low for today's kind of companies that progress to $1 trillion revenues. I'm sorry, $1 trillion. Yes, $1 trillion revenues. The concept of small, medium, and large as defined by sales is probably not as valid as it used to be. And the whole idea of small, medium, and large has been turned on its head by the fact that so many traditionally defined large companies are now growing as quickly as traditionally defined small companies. What we have to do is maybe go back to Nicholson's original language and talk about slower growers, average growers, and faster growers, and maybe use his original percentages up to 7 for faster for slower growers, between 7 and 12 for average growers, and 12 and above for faster growers. We're just asking you to think about these ideas. We're not going to try to revolutionize the organization in the next half hour. How about this? And this is what I just talked about. Let's not worry about this small, medium, and large. Let's talk about sales growth instead. And for a portfolio, let's focus on the portfolio's growth, not the individual sales growth of each company in isolation. And maybe it's time to stop worrying about the 25-50-25 goal if you're depending on company sales growth to make the definition. Maybe we want 25% slower growers, 50% faster growers, and 50% average growers and 25% faster growers. As we said earlier, beating the market by 5 points is extremely aggressive, but don't beat yourself up if you can't reach that goal. Celebrate when you beat the market at all. Even 1 or 2 points above the market puts you way above the average mutual fund or the average ETF. So make the club experience enjoyable and don't obsess so much over a number that's extremely difficult, especially when markets end up producing 20 and 25% returns. Trying to beat that return is extremely difficult to do. Now, model clubs tell us they know that they need faster growing stocks in their portfolio, but they're having a very difficult time identifying these kind of companies. So I'm going to turn the next set of slides completely over to Mark now and let him tell you about how maybe you can start to solve this problem.
All right. We spend a lot of time on this particular topic at Manifest Investing. If you're not familiar with Manifest, again, I'm not here to sell you Manifest, but if you want to explore it, you can just go to manifestinvesting.com and this will take you through a number of tutorials. It'll actually give you access to our events that Ken's going to talk about, our bull sessions and our roundtables. But I would just invite you to explore. If you have any follow-up questions, let me know. But we literally are attempting to take the lessons learned by the modern investment club movement, as it says here, and put them at your fingertips. So go ahead and go to the next slide, Ken. And I thought this is a little bit off script, but I thought I would do this. In fact, I just came back from a basketball game with my grandson. Um, about 11 years ago, our grandson was born, and I actually wrote him a letter when he was born describing a number of things. And I kind of thought, in honor of what George Nicholson used to think of February as, invite some people to your investment club meeting, make some friends or family members aware of better investing and the potential for successful investing. And I just described one incident here where my mother and father were at an investment conference in Springfield, Illinois. And I came down for breakfast, and they were sitting with an investor relations person from a company called Biomet. Many of you out there remember Biomet. And this IR person told mom and dad that $2,000 invested in 1982 was worth nearly $1 million in the late 1990s when we were sitting there in Springfield. And so I basically use that as a reminder that you don't have to really find the next Microsoft. You just have to get out there and find the next biomed. And you want to find, in addition to those good workhorses and that sort of thing. But if you want to read the letter to my grandson, you can go ahead and go to that public link at the bottom of the page and check it out. Good, good times. So again, invite a friend. So, this is the mantra. We want to buy and hold high quality growth companies, and we don't have a time in mind. We do it for as long as it makes sense to do so. Many of you out there will recognize that cover from Better Investing magazine a few years ago. And I would just issue the reminder that we are interested in finding excellent companies when they're on sale. And we really don't care much for the market characterizations. We're out there trying to buy companies, not necessarily markets. So it's a powerful reminder for people who may be veering off course a little bit, and that's
Mark,
our
you're
reminder.
taking us full circle, Mark, back to the point that we made on the first slide that
Hmm.
Nicholson presented to us a model that presented a simple picture. I know, for example, that a lot of you have sat through innumerable classes on when to sell, but if you read the original literature, you find out Nicholson had one rule to sell, and that was you sold a stock when you could make the portfolio better. That's a pretty simple rule to remember without a lot of extra stuff padded to it to make it difficult.
Okay.
Well, my chapter does a lot of online education, and we invite any and all of you to come to any of our productions. We don't charge a dime for anything. On the 29th and 31st, we're going to be doing a jamboree session, and basically it's going to be focused on portfolio management. We're going to delve into some of the tools that Manifest Investing has available. We're going to show you how, with some simple arithmetic and some observation of some simple averages, you can begin to improve the performance of your portfolio. We're going to end the Jamboree on Saturday, the 31st, by looking at a nice collection of portfolios that we have collected from people just like you throughout the country. I had to put a stop to collecting the portfolios, or we would have been at the Jamboree for the next 3 days. But we are going to try to squeeze in the first, I don't know, 12 or 15 that came into my email box and take a look and try to set some short-term and some long-term goals for those portfolios. If you'd like to make yourself aware of all of our programming, then all we do is ask that you go to the Better Investing Mid-Michigan guest list. I've put the URL right in the center of this slide in blue. And when you press that URL, it will take you right to the Mid Michigan page on the Better Investing website. And the only instruction you need to do is to scroll down because you will not see this form if you do not scroll down. Once you scroll down, there's 4 lines. Put your email address, your first name, your last name, and your zip code. Hit subscribe, and you'll be added to our guest list. At that point, we'll notify you once or twice a month of upcoming programs and give you a URL where you can register for that program immediately. Folks, there's about 2,000 people now, more than 2,000 people on our guest list, and we're getting people from throughout the country at our events. So feel free to join us whenever you need to. The kind of programs I'm talking about, well, first of all, I have this slide that my wife said I should put into the slide deck here, emphasizing that we're a pretty friendly group and we'll talk to almost anybody about any concept with investing that you want to discuss. We do open up our doors at least 15 minutes early every program, and sometimes as long as a half an hour early on our programs, and we just chat. And that's the time you can ask almost anything, off topic or on topic, as long as it pertains to investing. So join this very friendly community. If you want copies of the slides, I'm just reminding you again, you can email Mark or myself. There's our email addresses, and use the slides any way that you find them useful. Show them to your club. If you're making a presentation for your chapter, use them if you want to take out one or two of the slides. But please, if you use one of our slides, tell the folks that are looking at the slide where it came from. We appreciate being acknowledged about the creation of the slides. We want to say thank you to all of you. And we're now at the place where we can take questions. So I'll turn it to our moderator. And can you show us some questions now or talk to us about some questions?
Yes, thank you. That was fantastic, folks. Thank you very, very much, gentlemen. And now folks can just come right off mute and they can ask the questions themselves. Or if you'd rather not do that, you can put them into the chat and Phil will read them to Ken and Mark. But
Christine, I want you to look at your clock because when you ask us for 50 minutes, we deliver, okay?
you are unbelievable. Talk about punctual. Man, you guys, you've done this before, right?
A
Once
couple
or twice.
times. Yeah.
For a couple of years. Awesome. Yeah, jump in. Don't if you want to stop sharing, Ken, you can just go to the bottom of your screen. You should be able to stop sharing. Then we'll get the whole group of people. You'll be able to see a lot more folks on the screen. Um,
Okay, I'm still not. Oh, maybe it's if I close my presentation.
yeah, if you go to the bottom, you should see that
There
pop
we
up.
go. There we go. Stop sharing. Press the green button. And now maybe turn this off. I'm getting a Zoom screen right now, so I don't know if that's what I should be getting.
Yeah, if you go down to the bottom of that screen, does you get a little pop up where it says stop sharing?
No, but I can scroll this screen down and maybe that helps.
Hmm. I might be able to.
I
Um,
got it.
oh, you
I
did it.
got it.
Good job.
Okay.
Good job.
Yeah, I had to. Okay, I got it.
So Mel has a question, and he's actually doing our March presentation. Um, and he says the problem with VL is that it may be 3 months old. Morningstar seems more timely.
I don't have any problems with that, but I do use Value Line through my library, and I do know that all the stuff that's on the electronic version of Value Line is as timely as Morningstar. I know that the PDF that we traditionally use is every 3 months, but if you look at the material on the Value Line website when you pull up a company, all the things on the website are updated continuously. They're not old. Many times, in fact, the timeliness rating will be different between the PDF and what you're seeing on the screen. It's not organized the same way. It's not in one nice, neat little sheet like we're used to using, but the information is very timely in Value Line if you look at what's on your screen.
Yeah, and I would just add that I agree. I mean, it sounds like a 3 month time frame, but my experience, and trust me, everybody, I've looked at every value line for the last 20 years. I'm not exaggerating. Ken knows that's a true statement.
Yeah.
Um,
I've only gotten to 90% of them, Mark. You're
the
really ahead of me right
the
now.
differences the differences between one quarterly value line and the next are very rarely material when it comes to how we look at a company. Now that they do happen, but they're very rarely material differences.
Melissa is asking us if Mark, if you and I would be willing to join them at a retreat in Minnesota in the summertime. Melissa, if it's a single club and a small audience, we might be willing to talk to you about a virtual visit. But Minnesota is a long way from where we live, and I'm not. As nice as your club might be, I'm just not sure that I'd be willing to travel a day and a half just to visit with 10 or 12 of you.
No,
Uh,
if she puts together multiple clubs, though, we've done that before.
if you can pull together 30 or 40 people, then you might have some live visitors. Absolutely. But we'll leave that to you. Is there still an active chapter in the Minneapolis area? Because Mark and I were frequent visitors to Minneapolis
Absolutely.
about 12, 15 years ago. Yeah. Uh, you have my email address. You have Mark's email address. Drop us an email with a phone number, and one of us will talk with you about visiting virtual if that's what you'd like to talk about. Okay. She answered, "We'll be in touch," by the way. I don't know, Mark, if you got
Yep,
that
I
answer.
can see it.
You got it too. Okay. This is a very polite, very quiet audience, Christine.
I know I don't know what's get into folks. I know
Don
they
is
all are burning
Don is
questions.
asking me about SMR. Don, is that because you know that I own SMR?
So do I.
Yeah. Um, I also own Oklo, Don, if you're interested. Oklo has no earnings and no sales. It is not a core holding, and I did not put all my eggs in that basket, but it has brought me about 350% in the last couple of years that I've owned it. SMR, New Scale Energy, is the name of that company. Oklo's ticker is the same as the name of the company. These are both nuclear power companies are dealing with nuclear power, and the ticker for New Scale Energy, SMR, stands for Small Modular Reactor. This would be a nuclear reactor that you could load on a flatbed truck and move from site to site as you needed them to develop to distribute power or to make power to distribute. And they actually have a tentative agreement with the Nuclear Regulatory Agency. They're the only company so far that has an agreement for their prototype that is being created and manufactured as we speak. If the whole process proves to be successful, this will revolutionize power because one of the big things on these small reactors is that they will be able to use spent fuel from the large traditional types of reactors. We won't have to find a way to bury it in the ground for the next 1,000 years. We'll be able to use that fuel to fuel these small modular reactors. So
Couple of
there's a
things
lot of
here.
good things to it. Go on, Mark.
First of all, I'm concerned that the body snatchers have taken my friend Ken Kavula because he is definitely talking about a very speculative investment. If
Extremely speculative
so,
and a very small part of my portfolio. Very small.
Bonnie did ask about core versus non-core. He is talking about the non-core part of his portfolio where it can be an adventure. It's been a very rewarding adventure, but it's not traditional
I
in
will
any
also
sense.
tell you that I'm very willing to brag about my successes in these kind of stocks and very reluctant to talk about my non-successes. Okay.
Oh, we had one of those here in the last few weeks that disappeared from the planet, so it happens.
Yes, you might have been at convention 2 years ago when the gentleman from Houston, Mr. Matt Spielman, and myself made a real big deal about a company called Luminar that was making LiDAR for automobiles and had all kinds of promising data to back it up that it was going to be the next big thing in the market. Well, it went bankrupt less than 2 months ago, right, Mark?
Yeah, and the fascinating thing about it is it probably happened about a month before they could have potentially had a breakthrough.
Yeah.
It's just it's just interesting.
What's your thoughts on Bitcoin?
I'm holding up two fingers so you can see them, okay? It's I don't I don't think that Bitcoin has lived up to any of the promises that it's made. And believe me, over the last number of years, I've had many people try to convince me I should own it, starting with Mark's nephew back about 12, 14 years ago, trying to tell me to get in at the beginning so I could become a billionaire.
Yeah,
I
and
wasn't interested in becoming a billionaire, too many tax issues. So,
he was probably right.
yeah, yeah, at that point
It's
he was.
definitely an alternate asset class. I don't think anybody really understands it yet. I will tell you that my focus to this point is on the blockchain side of things. I think that is going to be a surviving technology. If you talk to any of the bankers or people who process currency or money or contracts, that's going to survive. So I do own a little bit of Ethereum. That is a cryptocurrency, but and that's in my non-core portfolio.
Milburn, you should know that Bitcoin was originally conceived as a store of wealth. as an alternative to gold more than anything else, and perhaps with the idea that it was going to become the de facto currency. But I think that that's kind of been disproved in the last year and a half, 2 years, where Bitcoin seems to move very erratically. It's very volatile, and it seems to move with a bigger beta. Yeah, with a bigger beta than the market moves. So when the market goes down, Bitcoin falls even faster. And when the market goes up, Bitcoin goes up a little bit faster. So it's no more stable than the market is, and the market certainly is not stable. So
High beta.
very high.
Right.
Uh-huh. I saw a
We don't
question
talk
from
about beta.
Kent, but I my box didn't allow me to read the entire question. Kent, could you talk to us and tell us what your question was?
Sure, let me give this a shot. So first thing was great presentation. My brain exploded about halfway through, but I think I got some of it anyway. In looking at smaller companies, the some that may be growing at greater than 12% is the big question. I find sometimes that I'm seeing these companies and I want to do an SSG on them, and I go out to Better Investing, and Better Investing doesn't have the data, and so I have been trying to figure out a way to create an SSG without having without having the Better Investing data set, or have it creating an SSG when that data set is unavailable.
You mean you
Um,
put the ticker into the Better Investing tool and you don't get any result? Is that what you mean?
yeah, some small companies like Air France was one that I was
Okay,
looking
well,
at
what I would
a
do,
while back, but
what I would recommend is that when you experience that, and I don't experience that very often, and I'm always looking at small companies, but when you experience that, I would drop a note to service at
okay,
betterinvesting.org and direct it directly to Susie Artsberger,
okay.
Artzberger, and Susie will make sure that that gets included in the data set then, if there is data to be had. Sometimes I find that people are searching for information on companies that aren't public, and there won't be a data set for companies that aren't public.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
these were publicly traded companies. So I just okay,
Okay.
that's a good option.
The
Yeah.
other
Uh, yeah,
the other thing I would say, Kent, is we at Manifest Investing we do a slightly different technique. I would call it an improvement on the stock selection guide traditional method, where we emphasize the next couple of years of forecast. And for many times for those smaller companies, if you go to some of the other sources other than the ones you just listed, you can actually get 2 or 3 years of forward-looking expectations for their sales, and that can be very informative, especially for companies that are just breaking through, just becoming positive when it comes to earnings. And that allows us to focus on some of those. When Ken and I go through our best small companies every year around Halloween, we end up with a bunch of those that don't necessarily work real well on a traditional stock selection guide, but you can still do a pretty good look at the company. And he doesn't admit, but for SMR, for example, you can actually do a little bit of looking into the future. Again, it's more speculative, and we recognize that, but at the same time, it can help to make an informed decision.
Yeah, Kent, the other really good tip that I have that I use all the time is when I can't find very much data about one of my small companies, the first place I go is to the company's website itself and look for an investor presentation. There's virtually no company that exists that's public anymore that doesn't have an investor's presentation. I
good,
read it,
good idea.
understanding the source of the information, but I read it very thoroughly and try to absorb it. And then when I have questions, I'm not really a big fan of calling investor relations for medium-sized and larger companies. But for these small companies, especially those where they're just beginning to become profitable, The investor relations people are many times very easy to speak to and eager to share any information you might be searching for because they want people to buy their stocks. So they're very accommodating. So it's something you might try if you're really, really interested in a particular small company.
Great idea. Thank you.
I have a question. When you have a stock that's really doing well, do you trim or do you just let things ride? I think for what you said, you probably just let things ride, depending on how it fits into your portfolio. Is that?
There's the key.
Yeah.
There's the key. If I have a stock that's doing really, really well, but it represents 35% of my portfolio, I might be looking to trim it. Okay. If I have a stock that is doing really, really well, so well that its future par, potential annualized return going forward, if that has reduced itself to somewhere around zero or below zero, and that happens with really hot stocks a lot of times, then I might consider moving on to another stock because my goal is to keep my portfolio's par, my portfolio's potential return at a beat the market place. And it's very difficult to do if you're going to include a couple of holdings that are potentially going to return 2 or 3%. I'm looking at your face and I'm thinking you might be like some of the people in some of my clubs that's thinking about taxes more than thinking about the portfolio. Okay.
Uh, well, the other reason you might do that is if you have another stock that might have a better PAR.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
So,
absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah.
so
Absolutely. You
I'm
have
not, I
to.
was not thinking about taxes, but I just was kind of
Yeah.
curious.
Well,
You're
I have a suitable cohort in every one of the clubs that I belong to that thinks about taxes over anything else first and foremost. So we constantly, the majority has to be reminding the minority that you should be happy paying taxes on capital gains because that means you're making money. So it's a difficult argument to make with some people, but it needs to be made occasionally.
thanks.
Well, Christine, we've enjoyed the give and take, and we promised you an hour, and we're a little bit more than that right now. So if there's no other questions, I'm going to go have an adult beverage, and I'm going to have it virtually with my buddy
Uh,
Mark. Okay.
Thank you both
hey,
so much. This was fantastic.
I
And
got a
thanks
question.
everybody for all the questions.
Oh, somebody
Oh,
else
you have
has a
I
your
got
hand up.
I
question.
got a question really quick. Uh,
Sure, Antoine.
a lot of this stuff is went over my head, so I'm just trying to figure out where do I start? Like
Where do you
far
live,
as
Antoine?
I'm in Ohio, Toledo, Ohio,
Toledo.
Toledo, Ohio.
Okay. There's a very vital, vibrant chapter called the Northwest Buckeye chapter in Toledo. And are you a Better Investing member?
Yes, I am.
Okay, then look for the Northwest Buckeye chapter. They do all their programming in the Toledo area. They have a model club, which means an actual functioning investment club that you can visit virtually or in person. All right, and it might even be very near where your home is. I think that the club meets somewhere between Toledo and Bowling Green.
Yeah,
I'm a Buckeye. Well, I don't know if you're a Buckeye, but I'm from the Buckeye State as well.
yeah,
So
I
I
am.
I know the
Die Hard.
geography. Okay,
Yeah,
well, we should meet each other then because
yeah,
we'd be both be angry at Indiana right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Okay, but that's where I would start by asking for
yeah,
information, and then I would also take a look at the Better Investing website. Spend some time.
yeah,
There are free classes going on that you can. Look at your leisure, and
yeah,
they're all absolutely free, and there's hours and hours and hours of education there. Look for the beginners series to start with, and then I would just remind you that we're having a convention relatively close to Toledo in April.
April in Chicago.
April in Chicago. So if you're interested, it has a little bit of expense attached to it because you got to get a hotel room.
Yeah.
But I think it's the third week in April. And again, if you're on the Better Investing website, you'll be able to get information about that convention.
Yeah.
Mark and I will both be there. I'll be teaching more classes than I should have said yes to,
Yeah.
and Mark will be teaching more classes than he
Yeah.
probably should have said less to. So.
I'll be there.
Well, we're glad to we'd
Look
be
forward to
super
meeting you there.
glad to have and look us up and reintroduce yourself. By that time we will have met 1,000 people, but I'll
Yeah.
remember you when you remind me where I met you. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Love
you.
Toledo.
Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And
Thanks, Christine. We
Thanks.
appreciated the
Chris.
invitation and ask us again in a couple years if we're still around. Okay?
I'm sure we definitely will. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, guys. Bye,
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Good
Thanks,
night.
guys. Stay warm.